A'ja Wilson recently went on the Roommates podcast, and that is a podcast with Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart. They also do really well on their podcast. It's pretty wholesome. She went on to talk about all things WNBA, her career, this and that, but there was a little like 1 minute discussion that went on where A'ja basically told Josh Hart that she could beat him in a game of one-on-one. So for context, I want to share with you guys this clip.
Score would be like 8-11. Me.
It's not that fun.
I get ball first.
You get ball first.
She does get ball
You're
first.
not gonna get it back.
First.
And you
So-
could, but that's gonna be your time. Like that's gonna be your period, which is fine. I'm not saying I'm gonna go scoreless, but 8-11, I feel like it's pretty solid. So what do you think it'll be, Josh? Don't piss me off. Do not piss me off.
I was just about to violate this. I'm about to say,
Right.
man, probably like 11-2.
You're sick. You're sick.
Nah, I'll say like a good 11, probably like 11-7.
So as you can see, it's
And let me chime in real quick. Because I haven't heard Rachel's take on this. Rachel is a female. Rachel, by the way, is a very good content creator. Somebody that I do reactions to some of her content, especially about the WNBA. That's something and where she's kind of thriving in right now is talking about women's sports, which I love. But yeah, look, A'ja Wilson, you're talking very confident, like you really are talking, like being serious that you're going to beat. And not just an NBA player, you're talking about an NBA starter. An NBA starter who is very, very impactful in the NBA for his team, and that being the Knicks. I'm not going to say A'ja can't score on him, but I just think the physicality of the game when it comes to the men's attributes and things like that, strength, I don't know if A'ja Wilson can handle that. Like, and Josh Hart is being kind about it. Like, if a dude really wanted to, I just, his physicality, I don't think there's women who could really, really handle that. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't even want to see something like that, bro. A man really, really trying his hardest to really beat a girl. As far as like physicality wise, I don't see it, man. So I'm not saying she can't score. Of course she can score. We know that.
overall a playful banter, but you can visibly see how, I don't know if offended is the right word, but Josh Hart's kind of like, are you kidding me right now? You really just said you would beat me. For context, you guys, Josh Hart plays for the Knicks. He's a starter. He's had a long career in the NBA. He's one of the best 300 players in the world. And A'ja, while a part of me gives it to her because she is a competitor, and I could just see a lot of people in her position being like, just having full confidence in themselves, like that's the competitive nature in her. I do think that she's a bit delusional here, and also like maybe the slightest bit disrespectful, because I mean, I don't know. This is, we'll get to my opinion after I show you what Jeff Teague had to say. But anyway, this caused quite a stir on social media when it first came out, and this was last month. And then Jeff Teague and his co-host decided to talk about it on their show, and here is what he.
At least Rachel's being honest. Like, A'ja, you're talking about one of the top basketball players in the NBA right now. Not in the NBA, but like, bro, like I said, being in the NBA, and he's a starter, bro. Like, he plays. Josh, I don't think Josh Hart is losing that at all, bro. I put everything I own on that.
He had to say.
So A'ja Wilson can't beat nobody in the NBA.
No,
Nah.
that might get spooky.
Not
bro.
one. Not one.
They did a whole.
We're talking bench players, everybody.
No.
Sham.
Do y'all know on the bench used to average 40 in high school and
Yeah,
nigga
bro,
20 in college, all type of
It's funny
crazy
because I
shit.
did. She was on the Nick podcast. It was like Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart. She was just like, if me and you play Josh Hart, who gonna win the game? He said me. She's like 11-7. He's like, me 11, right? And they just had like a really funny joke about it. She was just like, nah, I'll get y'all up out of here. He just like, nah, let's not joke about that.
Yeah, let's not play around, bro. Like, really gonna beat your ass. Like,
Yeah, nah. The
Y'all
top WNBA player is not beating the 12th man.
not be no, she's not beating a in the G League.
So
She's not beating a in college.
So with that, I feel like the internet was a little bit split. Obviously, the banter between Josh Hart and Asia was a little bit more lighthearted. They were just talking about what the score would be. And Jeff Teague goes on here and basically says, Asia is not beating anyone, not even in college, not in the NBA, not in G League, not in college. And some people were saying like, oh, he's being sexist. Asia Wilson is great. She could beat plenty of guys in the NBA. It created this whole debate, which I unfortunately don't think a lot of the time. The debate between are women as good as men in sports is never truly a healthy debate, because if you know sports at all, and if you can truly just be honest, like if we can all just be honest in this situation, Asia's not winning. But that doesn't take away from Asia's greatness. And that's the problem that I have with a lot of these discussions. It doesn't take away from a woman's greatness if they're not able to beat men. That is why we have women's sports and why we have men's sports. There are different categories because there are different physical advantages that men have naturally, biologically, that we don't have, but we don't have to compete with them. We shouldn't have to compete with them, and we also shouldn't be compared to them because it's different. Now, Kelsey Plum, I believe a couple years ago, was on a podcast, and she was asked something about this as well, and I actually kind of loved her response. So let's hear what she had to say.
NBA players, you were convinced you could.
And first off, look, not to take away, like she said, we're not taking away from Asia's greatness. I understand you are one of the most dominant in the WNBA. I get it. You just won the MVP award. I understand all of that. I understand you average 28, 29, 30 points a game. I get it. I get it. But when it comes to the man's physicality, once again, if a man really wanted to, I don't think you're going to be as dominant as you think. And no disrespect to Asia, you are a great hooper. I watch the Aces all the time. KP, Gray. I can name pretty much the whole starting five. Not even, I could probably name y'all a whole roster. Hayes. Hold on. Yeah, man. But let's finish off here. But like I said, man, no discredit to Asia, man. I just don't see it happening, man, at all. Not even college, like Jeff T said. And I get where you guys are coming from. Like, maybe the way he said it, I get it, but I don't think it was as bad as you guys think or taking it.
You can beat one-on-one.
No.
Not one?
Not even someone from the bench. You have to understand, if we're doing like shooting workouts, skill workouts, I'm very confident in anyone that you put in front of me that I can compete. Just sheer size, athleticism, that's the problem. Yeah. Maybe I can score, but like, who am I going to defend? These guards, these point guards are like 6'6".
And I love what she had to say here because I'm in full agreement with her. Like, if we were to put some WNBA players, like they did at All-Star last year, some WNBA players against NBA players in a 3-point shootout, skills challenge, like when it comes to just skills, they're not competing physically against one another. I would put money on some WNBA players that they could outshoot certain NBA players.
For sure, 100%. Caitlin Clark is outshooting a lot of the NBA players. I can tell you that right now. I can tell you that for sure. And not just her. Sabrina, a lot of these girls. For sure. I'm sure Kennedy Carter, she could kill some of these dudes in a skills challenge. Kennedy Carter, Akwan Ogunbowale, she could do it. A lot of these girls, they got skills. We're just talking about the physicality. So maybe they should put it in that way. But you guys should already know this by now.
It comes down to a game that's as physical as one-on-one when it comes down to the speed, the height, the quickness, the defensive abilities. That's where I think that Josh Hart and some of these men, and you have to understand, men in the NBA have some of the biggest egos in the world, and rightfully so when it comes to their sport because they have worked really hard to get to that place and they have beat out so many people along the way. And so I feel like their ego is like, how dare you even say that you could beat me? I'm not trying to diminish your talents. And I think Josh Hart and Jaylen Brunson, excuse me. We're so excited to have her on the show and celebrate her and lift her up. And I think that we should be doing that with Asia because she's an incredible basketball player. But it comes down to the common sense of it all. I don't think it's going to happen. And I don't think that it should get to the point where we're online making this argument so serious. Like, it's truly not that serious. I don't truly think that it's going to happen, that Asia will ever play an NBA player. I mean, she could, maybe set up with a G League player or somebody in that regard. I don't think an NBA player is going to agree to play her one-on-one. And I think that we would find out pretty quickly the difference in skill and ability and physical ability. That's why there was this whole debate when Caitlin Clark was in college, like, put Caitlin Clark in the NBA, like, she's good enough to be in the NBA. And while I agree Caitlin Clark is good enough as a shooter to shoot in the NBA, the speed of the game is so much quicker and the physicality is so much quicker.
True.
And I think one of the purest examples where I could really see it side by side is when I went to the McDonald's All-American game. Dre's sister was playing in it, and the girls played first and the boys played second. And so I watched the girls game, and like Sarah Strong was in that game as well. All of the top 20 high school girls players, and they were so good. And I'm watching them go up and down the court, and I'm really impressed with their skill and their game and their ability. And then 20 minutes later, the men take the court and they start playing, and it's a completely different game. It's so much faster. They're playing above the rim. They're a lot more physical, and it looks almost like you're watching two different sports. That's why I've also advocated for women's basketball, because if you like women's basketball, you like it for reasons other than the reasons that you like the men's game, because it is almost like two different sports. They play the game differently. A lot of things are structurally the same, but that's why I don't even like the debate about lowering the rims, because the women's game doesn't do that. It doesn't need to do that. It's a different game. It's different because of our physical abilities. And so I think firstly, this whole could Asia Wilson beat anyone in the NBA conversation has blown a little bit out of proportion, but that's what the internet does. It started out as something that was just friendly banter, and I know that people were jumping to Josh Hart's defense.
Okay, look. I love the point that she made about the American McDonald's All-American game. That right there should let you know, there's a speed difference, there's a physicality difference, there's just differences when it comes to the game speed and how it's played. Guys in the NBA are flying out the gym, even if they're not dunking in games and you don't see highlights. These dudes all can pretty much dunk. These dudes all can jump out the gym. These dudes are all explosive. These dudes are all fast. They're all physical. So no disrespect to any WNBA players or any women's basketball player out there. It's just a different level of gameplay. Nothing wrong with that, man. Sometimes we got to accept that and not be so like, oh, he did this or he did that. Well, how could Club 520 do this? Because I've been seeing a lot of it on Twitter. Oh, how could this team do this? How could this team, or how could this podcast do this? Dude, they're having a conversation and they're just being honest. As you heard Kelsey Plum just say it. These point guards that you think are small are still 6'3", 6'4", 6'6". The average girl, I don't even know the height of the average WNBA player. I don't. But they're probably nowhere near the size of these NBA dudes. And I get it. Like I said, Asia Wilson is one of the bigger girls out there. She can't jump as high as these dudes. She's not as fast as these dudes. She's not going to be able to play defense on these dudes. Now, maybe scoring a couple of points, cool. You ain't winning no basketball game versus a guy, especially in the NBA. I'm just telling you, So, look, shout out to Rachel. Shout out to Club 520. And still shout out to Asia Wilson, man. Hey, you can hoop. I cover you. And especially on my main channel. Obviously, a lot of you guys don't know me from this second channel over here. But we will be over here a lot. Make sure you guys sub up to the channel. I appreciate you guys, man. And I will be back with some more content. I'm out. And everybody stay safe out there, man. It's scary times right now in LA. I'm not even sure. That's why I'm so laggy on the content, because I'm not sure if we're going to have to evacuate or what the case is, man. Because things are going left real quick, man. So I'm going to catch you on the next one. I'm out.